Hey guys, this is Ray Rossini with OITVOIP. I'm here joined today with Alex and Marnie from Lifecycle Insights. We're very excited to talk about this product. We're going to learn all about it. We've heard the benefits of quarterly business reviews, or as Alex would call them, technology business reviews. But it's a little bit of a mystery, right? We don't know what data to put together. We don't know how to present to the client, how often we should be presenting it, or what's important to present. So Alex and Marnie are going to help us along. I want to help you. I want you to join me in welcoming them. First, we're going to introduce Marnie. Marnie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Marnie Stockman. I'm managing partner at Lifecycle Insights, and I come with a background in customer service. So as the director of customer success, where QBRs were part of our retention strategy. Alex?
I'm the Chief Customer Experience Officer over at Lifecycle Insights and an MSP owner for almost 17 years now. I basically have a real passion for quarterly business reviews and got with a team to help figure out a better way to do them. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Awesome. So absolutely. I'm sure you guys have seen Lifecycle Insights around. Alex is very heavily engaged in the Discord channel. I've seen him in Slack, IT Pool Party as well. I've seen him on Reddit. So you may have seen him around, and I know he did another webinar last week. But this is another opportunity. We're going to go through the product. He's going to show us some slides. We're going to go ahead and also see a live demonstration along with the new product announcement, right? You have some new features that are coming out that just came out.
We have a brand new feature that we literally launched today just for you guys. So
awesome. That's
actually
fantastic.
we launched it last night so you could see it today.
In advance of this webinar. I love to hear that.
Yep.
So we'll get a first look at that as well, and that will be available to anybody that signs up. Once they sign up, we'll give you an offer at the end. We are going to have a Q&A session at the end, so if any questions that come up, go ahead and pop them into the chat. We will go through them. We'll try to get through as many as possible, hopefully all of them by the end of it. So let me go ahead and start sharing here. And so before we get started, I want to go through and do a live poll real quick. We're going to do, I want to ask you a question. How often do you conduct technology business reviews? So if you have a second, go ahead and answer online. And you notice we're calling these technology reviews, not quarterly business reviews. Alex will get a little bit into that, but he educated me a little bit earlier this week on the subject. So some of you, not ever. We see a good mix of quarterly, semi-annually, annually. Looks like semi-annually, annually are the winners, but very, very close. Okay. So I think that's good information. Hopefully we'll change that as we learn more about the product going forward. Alex, you want to take it from here?
Sure. So basically what we want you to walk away with today is some simple takeaways about QBRs. The value, strictly what you get out of it and what your customer gets out of it. What reports you should bring to your QBR sessions. We're going to go over an asset list, which includes warranty and end of life. We're going to go over supported users list along with Office 365 licensing. And we're going to talk about budget forecasting and those reports and how they apply to a QBR. And then we'll show you basically how our tool can save you time in building each of those and getting them ready and right for your customer. QBRs serve one basic function for you, really. These are about customer alignment, and they are a sales opportunity. Don't let anyone tell you any different. You don't want them to be a salesy opportunity, but they are a sales opportunity. We treat these as a customer relationship and retention opportunity. The most affordable customer to have at your MSP is the one you already have. If you don't know your cost of acquiring new customers, it's probably really, really high. And this meeting really should be between high-level executives, both from your business and from the customer's business. You want to make sure you're getting the right people in the room, and we'll talk about that a little bit today too. What's the problem with QBRs? What are we doing wrong? Most of us are spending, or we're spending, 2 to 6 hours per client prepping for a QBR. That just doesn't scale. We heard numbers as high as 8 when we were interviewing some MSPs. We built Lifecycle Insights essentially to reduce the amount of time that you invest and improve the data quality that you get when you're done.
So you talk about data quality. You know, how do you define what do you consider good data? What bad data? I know we get so much information from our RMMs and our other tools. A lot of it's noise, and a lot of it, the clients kind of gloss over a little bit. What would be a good example of good data that you would
Well,
consider?
good data is data that really hits home with an executive. So we're not necessarily talking about gigabytes and petabytes, and we're not talking about real nerd terms. We want to get to finances. We want to get to the ability to budget. We want to get to the ability to do lifecycle management. So when we're talking about good data, we're saying make sure that your devices have a purchase date, a warranty expiration date, an end of life date, and that we have all the key pieces of equipment in any customer documented in the first place.
So that's where the life cycle stuff comes in, right? It's not just about the data you're presenting, but at the end of the day, you want to know the life cycle or the expected life cycle of these products and be able to budget and plan replacement strategies. And that's where you're generating revenue, right? From these
Right.
reports.
We want to tell the customer 5 years ahead when they're going to have a big annual replacement cycle because maybe a SAN or a big server goes out of warranty and needs to be replaced. We don't want to have surprises in that realm.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
And we
So-
know the day that we buy an item that it's going to have an end of life date. We might as well document it and put it in front of the customer.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of the things we miss, right? As we purchase it, we get all excited about the proposing part. We get all excited about, implementing and the onboarding. We forget one of the first steps we should be doing is understanding there's an end of life moment for that product that we're installing. We should document that at that moment and track it, right, throughout the life of the. We don't always do that, and I'm myself guilty when we were doing the MSP stuff. We were so excited about that computer, and maybe we tracked the warranty, right? We knew the 3-year warranty or whatever it had to be. But we absolutely didn't do that with all their technology.
And we also fail to track, the cost of maintaining that device throughout its life cycle.
Absolutely.
Whether it has a contract for a maintenance contract, an annual renewal, even just monthly payments for a lot of these SaaS products that we add in.
Have you looked into what that burden is, that financial burden of keeping these things beyond their expected lifespan? When you keep that workstation for 4 years, 5 years, or 7 years, how that tears on the support desk or how the client's productivity drops? Do you have any data behind that?
There's a lot of studies on that. We haven't done any of our own, but I can send out some information to folks after the fact. Essentially, the big one, especially with operating systems, is how likely are you to get ransomware. The industry is saying that Windows 7 over Windows 10, for example, is about 9 times more likely to get ransomware. So that's a huge number. If you're behind on Windows 10 and Windows 7 replacements, you're doing yourself a disservice on many fronts.
Oh, I can only imagine. So as we go into, before we get started in the actual demo, I'm going to go ahead and start another poll. And that is, those of you that are completing QBRs, we want to know, how long does it take you to do so? That's one of the other major takeaways that I've seen in playing around with Lifecycle Insights, the product, and learning from Alex and Marnie is it's all about getting quality data, but getting it quickly, right? You're going to go ahead and talk into that, but we want to pull here, how long is it taking you guys that are doing it today? I see very few, less than 2 hours, which the good thing you're watching this, you'll see why that's important. So we see the biggest number, 5 to 8 hours, have multiple days, and of course CNAs, if we're not doing them, we should be. I think we all agree we should be doing these technology reviews without question. Just question is, where do we get the time? And we see time is a major factor here.
Well, as we've been doing social media with our company, a phrase we keep using is defeat the blank page. A big problem that a lot of MSPs have with QBRs is they don't know where to start. I think one of the things that we give them is a good starting point. That's
fantastic. So with that, I'll go ahead and let you share whenever you're ready. I know you want to show us some of your reports. I know you want to show us some of the product. I'll go ahead and shut up so you can introduce us to Lifecycle Insights.
Sure. Let me grab the right screen here and we'll get it going. Okay. You should be able to see a dashboard. Let me know when that comes up for you.
Yep, can see it.
So this is Lifecycle Insights. It syncs directly with ConnectWise and pulls your client list. You can select your clients from the top, and then it gives you a quick dashboard about your clients. The first 2 items on the dashboard are what we consider to be some of the most important. These are related to data quality. This shows me how many of my devices may be missing an end of life date, or missing a warranty expiration date, or missing a make and a vendor. We all know that if you try to fill in a configuration in ConnectWise, that configuration probably has 30 fields. In the long run, only about 6 of those matter when it comes to a QBR. And if you want to know which are missing, we've built you a nice little report here that shows you exactly what needs to be filled in for each device. And we give you the ability to export that to a CSV.
And it's pulling a lot of this from your RMMs or whatever integrations you have, right?
Right. So ConnectWise will get that data from either IT Glue or LabTech or whatever combination of PSA, RMM, and document management system you have. That information is all pulled into here, and then we basically assess it for quality, which is something that's missing from all of the major PSA tools.
Absolutely.
So we give you a data quality score for every client. You can see them all in one place here. And from your data quality score, you can see Prospect Inspection Services in my sample data is probably ready to have a QBR. Creative Designs, probably not ready to have a QBR, right? They have a lot in yellow, and same with Hunter Lodge. They're in even worse shape.
So you're showing right up front. We're
showing right up front what your data looks like.
Yeah, you're saying don't schedule that QBR because the data's not ready yet. Go fix the data first, and then
exactly.
So we go back
to the dashboard. We go grab Hunter Lodge, and we create this CSV file with the data that's right here. Our goal for this file is for you to be able to hand it down to an intern or a tier 1 engineer and allow them to fill in the blanks. No longer do you need your VCIO or your CEO or your chief technology officer to go out and do this type of work. You should be able to hand this down now to your lowest tier help desk folks, or like I like to say, an intern. This is the best way for your interns to learn your customers, learn your systems, learn your tools, and still add value to your business. So once we improve that data quality score, now we can go out and talk about having a QBR for this customer.
So I want to stop you right there real quick, because I know this is something we discussed the other day. I want to be the one to say it because I know when it comes from a vendor, it sounds like funny math, but we were talking about based on the reports we just saw, right? Based on this poll, we saw it takes on average at least a full day to get this data. And I'll go ahead and put that back up. How long does it take? 5 to 8 hours was the highest amount, right? Typically most of us, and the way I've always done it, is my tier 2 or my tier 3 guys. We're preparing that data. Well, 8 hours of tier 2 guys or tier 3 guys, we bill our tier 2 at $225. Yeah. That's $1,800 in billable time to prepare a report that you're going to do once a quarter, or once a month, once every 6 months or once a year. That's ridiculous. Now you're saying take an intern, take a tier 1, let them prepare this data. And how long does it take to prepare these reports? I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but
you're going to spend 30 to 45 minutes now of that tier 1 guy between printing the reports, putting them all together, checking them for quality, making some minor tweaks.
That's, again, you're talking $1,800 in billable time versus an hour, half an hour of a tier 1 or an intern. I absolutely agree with intern. You guys, if you've heard me say it, I've said it 1,000 times. I'm all about making the interns and the juniors become the subject matter experts. Documentation is a way to make that happen.
And if they get good at it and they show you that they have enough attention to detail to do it, they'll probably also make a good engineer.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and continue.
So as we move on, you'll see there's a couple of additional tiles out here. I'm not going to dig too heavily into any of them. They're mostly overarching information. This is your 60,000 foot view. This customer has about $5,200 worth of product that should already have been replaced. It's beyond end of life, and we've coined this as technology debt. You can see that a good chunk, 25 of his assets, are in good standing, and we have a few approaching end of life and a few that are past end of, or one that's past end of life. You can see some replacement cost breakdowns. You can see a little bit of budget forecasting when their expenses are going to come out. We'll get into budget later. And then some technology debt by type and location. We'll get into that a little bit later too.
How is it determining end of life, what the expected lifespan is for the various devices?
We set it as a default for 5 years per configuration, but in the platform, and I'll show you where, actually, we'll jump into that real quick. Under account settings, we can actually manage those settings here to say that the average lifespan for a server or a VM or a workstation, we can tweak that at this level, or we can tweak it at the company level. So I can say, hey, my nonprofit who has no money at all is going to squeeze 6 years out of a PC instead of 5. But for the rest of my customers, it's going to be a 5. And that engineering company that I do work for is going to only get 4 years out of a machine.
That's fantastic. Yeah, because as MSPs, we always try to standardize, right? We always
Yep.
we always buy the same workstation with the same 5-year warranty, and the servers always have the 7-year warranty. And let's be honest, company by company, that does change quite a bit.
And we can literally come in here and say, hey, this company here, they spent $1,500 on a workstation, save it, and it's already reflected in the rest of my reports.
I love that.
So as we dig in here, though, you'll start to see all the assets cobbled together into a lifecycle report. This is the asset list that we use. It has a lot of filtering functionality built in. So if I knew an exact serial number, say, that I was looking for, if I just start typing, it'll auto filter and show me the quick and dirty workstation that I'm looking for. Or let's say that I'm looking for a user. I can find where that user has last logged in just by starting to search for that person and find them. And if we want to clean up our display, we could even come in here and permanently assign a user to a workstation so that when we get to the customer review, they get to see a name that means something to them in English. We put a lot of energy into making these reports something that are useful when you get in front of a client. Right now, something that's important for everybody is Windows 7 replacement. So I want to show you a feature called swatching. With swatching, we can uncheck the things we don't want to see. And I'm going to check unknown operating systems and healthy operating systems. And we're just going to look at operating systems that are near end of life or beyond end of life. For this particular customer, I get 6, 1 that lives on a server, 5 that live on workstations. If you're in the middle of Windows 7 replacements like everybody on the planet right now, this is a really helpful report. In just a couple of clicks, I can generate that report and send it off to my client. And of course, it's going to open on a monitor that's off. Give me 1 second.
So I apologize. I know I just realized I was sharing the poll results over some of the slides before you got to this page. So for those that didn't see, Alex was setting the actual lifespan of a certain product by company or just the defaults, as well as replacement costs.
Right.
You have those controls. I think that's phenomenal. But
yeah, that's right here for those of you who want to see that. We can drill it in by company and select it one company at a time, or we can do it with across the entire platform.
And you should on the style page, you can change it for an individual asset. If you have one graphic designer that has a workstation, you could
or that C-level executive who has to have a Mac. You can obviously change his pricing to match his pretentiousness. The report I was talking about is simply as easy as unswatching the things that you don't want to see for a particular customer. I think we were on creative designs and we did that one. And what it gives you is a Word report that looks like this. You can create these reports in 2 or 3 minutes. And one of the really cool functions that our developers built in, because they saw me coming a mile away, they knew I was going to need to send 50 of these on the same day, and I wouldn't want to have to go through this a million times. I can literally just grab the next customer, all the report settings save, and I can print the report again. So I can print 50 of these reports in 60 seconds a piece, 30 seconds a piece, and then I can send them out to a bunch of clients by email with a last minute, hey guys, these are the Windows 7 machines you still have to replace. I've attached a report and a quote. Please go out and approve the quote so we can get this project moving on. So that's swatching in a nutshell. We can do it on operating system. We can do it on end of life or warranty expiration data. We also show you some important information here like replacement cost and age of a product. But as we build the entire report, you'll see that what we get is broken down by servers, workstations, network equipment, and everything you could possibly need to build this client a budget. So what we're showing you is the age of the asset, when it needs to be retired based on one of these credentials. And then we can see the importance of having your data complete. If you look here, you see gaps in the data, which are obviously, when a client looks at it, not good for your relationship and for your communication with your client. So these are the kind of things that if you sent the health report down to your help desk and had them backfill, your high-level person won't have to deal with when they get in front of a customer.
So are you recommending also that not the tier 2 or tier 3 be having these reviews with a customer? Or who's the intended company representative, the MSP representative here?
I believe that at a certain level, your CEO should do them. If you grow beyond a point where your CEO can do them all, and that will happen, then you need to start bringing in account management or senior engineers to have some of these conversations. Keep in mind, though, while this is a soft sell, it is a sales opportunity, and sending engineers on sales opportunities can quite often end badly.
So in your experience, So one of the things I've always liked to do is when I go to sales presentations, I always like to take a business representative and a technical representative. Obviously myself, I'm in one of those rare positions, and business owners, especially small MSP business owners, are usually in the case that they fit both those roles. Even in those scenarios, I always like to take a technical representative anyway. So there was a pure technical voice, and then there was a pure business voice when I was doing these reviews. I would do the
Sure.
same thing in pre-discovery sales, right?
Mhm.
Because in my opinion, it's good for the CEO or whoever you're speaking to on the client side, their representative, to hear both voices. And it's hard, even if you're qualified to do both of those, it's hard to deliver from both of those voices to the client when it's just one person.
I don't disagree with that. I'll tell you that the more you can drive the conversation towards budget, the less you have to waste that expensive technical resource to bring them to a QBR.
Absolutely.
If we drive further into the platform, you'll see one of the reports that we present is a user list. The user list will show them who their supported users are, who shows up in my ConnectWise, and who the users are who have an Office 365 license. So a healthy, well-documented user looks like this. The user who maybe we haven't cleaned up out of ConnectWise after they were let go looks like this. And a user who's been hired, given a Office 365 account, but not entered into my ConnectWise, looks like this. So these are two cases of bad documentation and one case of good documentation. Another place where your tier one guys can go back and clean up and get your data healthy before you have to present it. But when you get ready to present it, what you get from this report is a supported user list. I tell everybody this report should be used in your first QBR, but quite often this should go over ahead of time with your agenda. If you've got a customer who's at a high level with you and is beyond the really basics, they don't need to go through a list of 40 users at every QBR. They really just want to see, hey, my primary approver and decision maker is still marked correctly. My secondary approver is still marked correctly. If we're at an advanced level, we might be documenting user types in ConnectWise of password reset authority or breach notification authority, point of contact, things like that. And we're going to want to send this over and just say, hey, does this look right? Or is there anything in here that's worth having a conversation about in the quarterly business review?
So something I want to touch on there, we look at these products and we always assume integrations with PSAs and RMMs, and you have that, right, with ConnectWise.
Yes.
But one thing I think we need to see here, you're pulling Office 365 licensing directly from 365?
Correct. We pull that directly from Microsoft. And what we do with that data is line it up to a user. We match them based on email address. We give you an Office 365 summary report. We've all been in this situation. This client has 36 active licenses and only 31 are actually assigned to human beings. Somebody's overpaying for 5 licenses. It's either me or it's my client. In most cases, it's probably me. But if I'm overbilling a client, we want to get in front of that client and we want to have caught it and already issued them a refund before they catch it.
Nice. And do you have any intentions of doing this with G Suite as well, or is this always going to be 365?
For the foreseeable future, it's going to be 365. I don't know enough about the G Suite API to know how easy they make it. But in our experience, the vast majority of MSPs focus on Office 365. So,
and while we're on the subject of integrations, what are the PSA and RMMs you integrate with today?
As of right now, we integrate with ConnectWise and pull the majority of our data from there. We don't integrate with RMMs. We assume that any data that an RMM collects is being sent somewhere else, either an IT glue, an IT boost, a ConnectWise, an Autotask, something like that. We do have IT glue integration in the works. So if you are an IT glue user but not a ConnectWise user, go follow us on social media, keep up with us. We'll have some very exciting news in the very near future around that one.
Nice.
Budget forecast. This is one that really wows our customers when we get there. It's played into by a couple of different things. We already showed you the asset list. All of that information, the costs associated with it roll into the budget forecast. The other thing that rolls in there is contracts. Contracts is a completely manual process at this time, but it allows us to go to a client and collect information. When I first started, they add their managed services bill and their Office 365 bill to their budget. But it gives me a great talking point with them. Mr. Customer, I've gone to a lot of energy to build you a sample budget and give you some guidelines on what your IT expenses are going to cost. However, there's a lot of things that go on in your business that I don't know about. If you're willing to share those with me, I can add them back to your budget. So would you like to see things like your copier expense, your voice over IP expense, that annual bill for that expensive line of business application? Would you like me to start to deliver those things back to your budget so that you can see it all in one place? Most of your customers will say yes. And at that point, it's a great opportunity for me to document things that maybe aren't in alignment with my stack. So I can go grab their Verizon bill, and I know that the end date for their Verizon contract is May 15th, 2021. And I also know that we have a notice date. Actually, there is no notice required for this one. So as of May 15th, 2021, we can cancel this contract. So on May 15th, 2021, I'm going to go sit in front of that customer and say, hey, I want to show you this cool voice solution that we have. I want to introduce you to my friend Ray. I want to set you up with a better voice solution. Let's get rid of that Verizon junk. You're going to call me every time it breaks anyway. Use the solution that I know and understand. And we're going to use budget as a way to go wider and deeper into our existing clients to sell them our full technology stack. Whether that be, broadband service through a provider you have a relationship with, a printer, a phone system, anything through a provider you have a relationship with and can deliver better service on. So that's where contracts come from. Where they play out in here is that as we show them their budget, we can show them the contracts and subscriptions that are due each quarter or each month or however you want to display the budget. I show my budgets 2 different ways, and this is all customizable. Generally, I show them 6 quarters with asset detail included. When we print this budget, what it's going to show them is every single device that they're going to have to pay for, device and service that they're going to have to pay for in that quarter. So I want high detail at this level. This is our near future, really up-to-date stuff. It prints a cover page that shows the filters that we use to build it, and then my budget. And you can see overdue, we have this 11.5-year-old server or PC, but coming up still in this quarter, 6 vendor bills. Next quarter, a bunch of vendor bills. And we get down into a couple of quarters where we have to replace some hardware. And each of these shows up right on the budget. We can even enter a comment in here that the customer can see from our QBR, from our discussions. We can say, hey, this is Bobby's workstation, or this is a firewall in the maintenance facility or whatever. All of this carries over and goes over to the client's budget to give them what the next few quarters are going to look like. If you have a really bad quarter coming up, it's nice to be able to point that out. We don't show that level of detail when we get into a long-term budget, but we do like to show a long-term budget. So I generally change this to years and print them a 6-year budget. What they essentially get with a 6-year budget is 5 years plus the remainder of this year. So being that it's December already, we always want to show 5 full years. As we go into this, our thought should be, this is more of a wide-angle guess budget. And that's exactly what I call it to my clients. If you're a Jim Collins fan, you'll understand that term will ring a little more true to you than to everybody else. But what it shows us is this is the amount of overdue spend. This is what's left for this year. So really, at this QBR, this customer should spend $25,000 to get caught up. And then over the next several years, their expenses are going to bounce between 66, 73, 63, 76, and here's an $85,000 year. Now, if my client normally spends $66,000 and he has an $85,000 year coming, I don't want to be telling him that on January 1st. I want to be telling him that in 2019, hey, 2024 is going to suck. And if you have
Do you find that that's a common problem right now with MSPs?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. MSPs don't have a tool to pull this information, so they don't know to tell the client about this information. They might be saying something like, hey, your server is going to need to be replaced in 2024. But nobody's put pen to paper to show them exactly what that means from a financial standpoint. And your CFOs get watery in the mouth every time they see this. They literally look at this and say, oh my God, this is the data I've always needed. And once they see it, they'll give you all the keys to the kingdom. They'll show you what they pay for everything. They want the information tucked into this report so that they can use it for their budget.
Yeah, absolutely. I notice, you see this, and talking to other MSPs, I've seen it so frequently where, they'll do that server purchase and it's good till 2024, and they'll get the Dell email about the warranty expiring 6 months before, 2024. They'll get it June 2023. And then they start jumping to the client saying, hey, we need to spend another 10 or 15 grand or 20 grand. Whereas when you can tell the client a year, 2 years, 3 years in advance, we're budgeting and we're going to carve out, $5,000 a year toward the spend in 2024, it gives them spending power too. It gives them the ability to make that bigger purchase. So it works for you guys as well.
And it gives them the ability, if they have a good year, to pad themselves for a bad year, right? So if I know that next year my expense is going to be $20,000 higher than this year, and I'm about to close out the year and I need to hide some money from the tax man. And as MSP owners, you guys understand this.
Section 179, yeah.
Right. I'm going to go buy some hardware. I'm going to go buy something a little extra, and I'm going to get ahead for next year so that if next year isn't as good a fiscal year, we can still get by, and we're still replacing everything and keeping up.
Yeah, I see the questions coming in. We're going to get to all of them at the end. Please, yes, keep posting them, but we're going to read them off and answer to everybody. But BJ from eTop Technology actually brought up a good point. This is not just about sales conversations. This is about HaaS conversations, hardware as a service too, because you have the data here to present the value for that subscription service for the hardware.
Yep. And if they know coming up that they're going to have a $90,000 year and they can't physically pay for it, hardware as a service slides right in. And if you're not already a partner with Great America, they have a great program for that. Just a free little plug for the good folks over there. The last thing that we've got here is a scheduler. And basically what we do is give you the ability to auto schedule. And this will just give you a ballpark of about when you need to have all of these QBRs. So here we've got some notes from a QBR. And here we can drill into the actual business review. You can upload your packet right to here. So if you've carried a packet in there, you've handwritten some notes in it, and you bring back your copy, you can upload it and stick it in here. This gives you the ability before your next QBR to review the last one, see all your handwritten notes, make sure that you've covered everything that was left as an open task. You can leave.
I think I got to stop you because Alex is way too humble to say this, but this is one of those brand new features, right? You were talking about the scheduler. This
is brand new. This literally was rolled out last night.
This didn't exist to the public, the Lifecycle Insights users 48 hours ago. Yep. And he wanted to make sure he rolled it out in advance of this webinar to show to you guys today. So, I want to say kudos to you and your team, Alex and Marnie. It's awesome, and we appreciate it.
And I can tell you some folks who logged in last night were very, very excited. I got some direct messages that this thing's really freaking cool. Thank you so much. So those folks who are using it definitely are seeing the value. Here is a large scale scheduler. We've added the ability for you to see the total number of QBRs that you've scheduled in any given month. And one of the things that we haven't really talked about that we need to is segmentation. Not all clients necessarily need to have a QBR every month. I hate the term QBR, but we're forced to use it because the industry uses it. We call our strategic business reviews. I've heard technology business review, and I like that one. I think as you go, it should take on a name that is comfortable for your team and your deliverable. Yours won't be the same as mine, and it shouldn't be. Your service levels, your pricing plans, your offering to your clients is probably different than ours, and you should be able to take a set of similar reports and produce something that's very unique to your team by adding in some other things. But what we see here is a customer maybe who is scheduled semi-annually, a customer who's scheduled for monthly, and a customer who's scheduled for annual or quarterly. Okay. The reasons that we would segment customers, some of our customers may be in an environment like manufacturing where not much changes, right? They're in a commoditization industry. Technology, they have the bare minimum technology they have to run QuickBooks and spit out reporting. Other customers might be in a CAD environment or in a medical environment that's high compliance and high technology. They need to meet with you more often. Their industry is not static. They need to be up to date on the latest bells and whistles and changes. So based on how much your customer spends with you, how deep your relationship is with them, and what type of an industry they're in, you should segment them into something that works for you. And then this shows you when you need to be scheduling all those QBRs and keeps you from loading 1 month into a 17 QBR month. We only have one human to do it.
And not all those QBRs need to be face-to-face. You mentioned sending out the reports. You might have a digital band of clients that they just get quarterly reports emailed to them with a note of an action item.
Is there a recommended cadence for that? To have 1 month digital and just send the reports, or, one schedule, right? Or one couple months digital, and then on the 3rd month or the 6th month or whatever, do it in person so you can answer any questions they may have seen in those reports if they're actually reviewing it.
I think so. I think you've got to figure out what works for you and your client. And this is a real good conversation to have with your client. I wouldn't email reports every month. You get numb to them. They don't really mean anything. Every time I email a report, I try and email something else with it to drive home the importance of it. So if I email out just a report, like I've been doing for some of these Windows 7 replacements, I also email a quote with it. It's a clickable link. I know that they clicked it and followed it, or that they didn't. It sends me back a reminder from my quote tool to say, hey, they just looked at your content, go follow up with them. So I can send my content, and then I can follow up with an email, and I know that they've read it, or I know that they didn't get to it, and we know that we need to follow up. There are instances where you're going to have clients who just either they have a really, really small engagement with you and it doesn't warrant a QBR, that you're just going to drop something in the mail. And that's a matter of making your solution scale, right? As a small MSP, when we all first started, we'd take any client. So we've got some folks who might only have 3 computers and they're only spending $300 a month with us. We're not going to go meet with them every quarter. We might drop them an email every quarter, but we're not going to meet them every quarter. And we might only do their annual one electronically. We might spin up a Zoom meeting, get our packet out to them electronically and review this with them one-on-one on a webcam.
But this gives you the ability to give the same quality of data, regardless of client type and client revenue. You can give them the same actionable information without worrying about, because now you don't have the same cost. Because let's be honest, that client that's $400 or $500, $700 a month, you're going to be very reticent to dedicate a tier 2 or tier 3 guy if it takes you 8 hours to prepare the data.
And you're going to go to their QBR and find out that nothing changed since the last one, right? Which is why we scheduled them out 6 months or a year. And this is a conversation you should have with the client. I believe your QBR schedule should be part of your contract. I believe that they should be able to hold you contractually obligated to do this. And if you're for any reason not giving them the QBR at the schedule that you're contracted to, they should be putting something in writing, excusing it, saying, hey, Mr. MSP, thank you so much for the opportunity, but I don't feel like there's a strategic need to do this right now. And that happens, right? Businesses get in a lull where there's not much changing. They're just, everything's par for the course and we keep on going.
And sometimes just that email, right? Just telling the client, hey, look, nothing changed. I'm giving you this so you have it for your records. The information's there, but we're gonna postpone until the next one. At least they know you're still paying attention.
Yep.
And sometimes that's just as valuable as actually going and conducting the review with them.
Yep, absolutely. And that email can go along with a summary of action items from the last one. Hey, at our last one, I took home these action items. Those are resolved. You don't have any big expenses coming up. Life is in a good place. Should we have a quarterly business review or do you want to skip it? It's okay to have that conversation with them because their time's valuable. If you think about a quarterly business review, we just talked about it being $1,800 to put a tier 2 or tier 3 guy or your VCIO in building all these reports. What does it cost your customer to pull their CEO, their CFO, their director of technology or IT or whoever your on-site point of contact is, and all their department heads into a room for you to talk to them for 90 minutes? That is an expensive meeting. That might be an $800 meeting for an hour before they worry about how much I cost to come to the room. So, we want to give this meeting the respect that it deserves, being the price point that it's at.
Speaking of, I just want to call time. We're at 51 minutes in. I know we started 7 or 8 minutes later. We're at 2:45. I want to give at least 5 or 10 minutes I don't mind if we go, to 2:10 or so, or 3:10 or so, but I want to give at least 10 minutes for Q&A. So just giving you time check.
Nope, we're good. We've been through the major points of the platform. We're in a good place. We can move on to questions if you want.
Absolutely. We'll go ahead and start with some questions. And actually, I wanted to give some feedback. I'm omnipresent on Discord and Slack, getting some feedback from some active clients of yours. And I was asking, what's the feedback from clients been? And they're saying they love it. They love the data. It makes for a more fulfilling conversation with more actionable information. So I think that's fantastic.
Well, actionable information is important. Every company who starts doing QBRs on their own without the right tools goes and prints something out of BrightGauge, exports something from ConnectWise or from LabTech, prints something from their CSAT tool, and goes in with a bunch of stats about, hey, we patched all your computers, we scanned for all your viruses, we blocked 1 million emails. The client doesn't care about that. The third time you have that conversation, they're asleep at the table.
Right.
But once you start talking budget and actionable items, they care. So we need to evolve beyond patching and nerd stats to me, those are permission to play items now for an MSP. You have to have those tools to even be in the game. So let's move it up a notch to the next thing, which is being that real trusted advisor at an executive level.
Absolutely. And that brings up a good point. Having the actionable information is fantastic. So I want to get into the I want to get into the questions. I know Marnie has answered some of them, and I appreciate that, Marnie. Thank you. I love immediacy. Let's see. We have here. Oh, that's the question I wanted to ask. The CSAT stuff. I know ConnectWise has the ability to store some CSAT data if you're using them for the surveys. Is it on the timeline? I know with a product like this, there's always a million integrations you want to have. Sure. But is there any short-term, 6 months, 12 months for any CSAT integrations?
Well, we're looking at CSAT integrations. We've had some conversations with the bigger players in the market. I won't get too deep into that, but we're aware of it. I don't know that we have a deadline for any of them, but Kruhu has had a real good conversation with us. They seem to be the only one in the market that has a viable API for us to pull from. Okay. Having said that, I don't believe we'll ever have all the plugins that you need. And if you noticed, all of our reports are Word reports. We don't stick your reports in a PDF where you can't edit them. And as I said before, I believe that every MSP delivers their service a little different and should deliver different things to the client. I'm a huge fan of CSAT reporting, and I take a snapshot out of Smileback and paste it into my reports. Then we have a conversation around, what their response rate looks like and what our happiness level looks like, right? If our clients are happy, great. But if they're happy and we did 100 tickets and only got one response, then they're not giving us enough constructive criticism. So we also go ask for that. Hey, Mr. Customer, I can't get any better if you don't tell me where I did wrong. And I don't believe we got all 100 tickets 100% right. So encourage your team to give us a gentle nudge when we could have done something better or different. But that CSAT, just like everything else, we want you to have the ability to cut and paste something out of, or screenshot something out of another tool and paste it into our tool. I think you'll pull our reports together with some other things that give you your complete QBR package. Some of those things would be quotes. Some of them would be screen grabs, maybe a project summary, things like that.
Absolutely. So going through some of these questions, I got Matt Rose, Tech Rage IT, asked warranty expiration data. I think you answered this earlier. I'll just ask again. Somebody asked about warranty master integration. You guys don't have that yet. You're getting the warranty information from ConnectWise today, right?
Correct. And Warranty Master feeds into all the products that we use for data sources. So, when we can announce another integration, they'll probably also already be pulling Warranty Master info. Basically, we pull the big three, Dell, HP, and Lenovo ourselves. So if those three are enough for you, you do not need Warranty Master. If you want HP, Toshiba, or if you want Toshiba, Cisco, some of the oddball ones, they're doing them and we're never going to. We might get around to Cisco one day. We might get around to Mac and Microsoft, but we are not a warranty lookup platform. We're not going to sell you warranties. We're not going to do for you what Warranty Master does for you. But if you just want warranty lookups on the big few that have APIs available and make it easy, we can do the big ones.
Basically, using the PSA as a source of truth. You're putting it on the MSP to grab the data from the disparate sources, with the exception, obviously, like you said, Dell and HP.
We see ourselves as a reporting platform, not a source of anything.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. So that kind of goes into Clay's question. Clay's asking, is software licensing as applicable as an asset to monitor? And I think what you just said kind of goes to that. You're not monitoring the assets themselves, you're reporting on the data that's already present in the PSA. Correct. So that volume license would have to already be in there.
Correct. And our asset list includes a whole section for software. So you would document that as a software asset or software configuration in ConnectWise, and it would pull over. And we have a little mapping tool. So you say, hey, in my ConnectWise, I built a custom configuration that's called software license, and I want to map that to a license over here. And I have a subscription service over here, and I want to map it to license on our software on our report. So we do give you a spot for software on the report. We also have network equipment. We have a telephone and VoIP section, and we also have one for other. So if you wanted to do something like network security cameras or something, and you want to document when they went in, how much they spent on them, and what the life cycle ought to be, even though you didn't sell them to them, you can put those in there and map them into that other category, and they'll still show on the report to add that extra value.
Yeah, and this is not the OITVOIP show, this is the Lifecycle Insights show, but since he mentioned VoIP, we are actively working on getting our data into ConnectWise and other PSAs, and obviously the conversation we had at IT Nation when we met up, we're going to make sure we present it in a way that makes sense for your strategy reviews, right? Because that's the whole point of this.
Well, you know, it's an awesome function of voice. You and I had this talk that, you know, you can still make a 12-year-old phone ring, right? But that phone is going to be losing things like busy lamp fields and new features that come out.
Yep.
It's just not going to be as functional as a modern day phone. So like anything else, they should be on this list. They should be reported assets, and they should have a replacement cycle.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we talked about in the very beginning. It's not so much a matter of is the product still viable? It's where's the loss of productivity for the end user at this point. They can't see the presence. They can't see, you know, they don't get the functionality of modern day, which is if they're using a modern software, modern service, they should have those benefits.
Right.
That also brings up another question. Are you, I know that contract data is already in ConnectWise. Are you putting contract data as far as expiration dates, renewal dates in the strategy reviews today?
That data does not pull from ConnectWise at this time. We struggled with a way to get that data into ConnectWise in a way that we could pull it back out. So that's the only unique data that really gets entered into our system is the contract management piece.
Okay.
And it's about 10 fields to fill in per contract. It's not too much.
Alex, we have like 3 questions on like integration roadmap piece. Someone asked about IT Glue, Autotask, and a file upload. So do you want to talk about where we're heading?
Sure.
Now? You can
Absolutely.
3 questions at once.
I don't want to commit to too much, but I would say very, very, very quickly, you'll see a big news article about a baseline IT Glue integration version 1.0 that with any luck will happen in the next, I'm going to say next month. My program will promise sooner than that, but we'll see. So we will have IT Glue very, very soon. Import export by CSV is something that is probably Q1 on our roadmap for next year. We see the value of that for folks who use an obscure platform, or, you know, my own personal example is I have 1,000 Chromebooks in an education environment, and there is no API at Google to even import and export that stuff from the Google Management Console. So there are a lot of good use cases for that, and we want to make that available. So that'll be early next year, I hope. I do not have an answer on Autotask on the roadmap as far as dates, but I would be stunned if we did not at some point have an Autotask integration.
Fantastic. One of the questions Dan asked, is there a section to pull insights from ConnectWise on ticket details, number generated, average time to close, those typical SLA stats that we all promise?
There's not. And that one, again, I'll point you to if you want to see that kind of data, BrightGauge is a fantastic tool for it. There are some other tools out there for it. I would encourage you to, if you're monitoring that data that closely, you're using ConnectWise Report Writer, you're using BrightGauge, you're using something else, grab that data and stick it in one of our Word documents, you know, dump it into your report and deliver it. But at this time, we're not pulling it. And if it's on our roadmap, it's so far down that it's not getting any attention at this point. A couple of reasons for that. I think that gets awful technical, awful fast for what I think should be a strategic conversation. Those are great conversations to have with your company point of contact. If you have a large company and you know, there's tiers of executives and you report to somebody in here, those are the conversations I like to have at the point of contact level, but not necessarily chew up the $800 an hour room with conversations about trouble tickets and that kind of thing. If you're doing lifecycle right, the age of the equipment will help you replace it before it gets to the point where it's creeped its way up your hey, there's too many tickets type report.
And that makes a lot of sense. You know, I've been guilty of this myself, where, you know, we're a BrightGauge user. I've been using BrightGauge for years. I love BrightGauge. But it's a lot of metrics and a lot of numbers that becomes, for lack of a better word vomit, right? It's just
you
so many numbers. Yeah,
yep.
and you know, and yes,
and it's the
service delivery is important. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But it's the same thing with patch statistics, antivirus statistics, spam email statistics. It was all stuff that the first time we ever had it as MSPs, we were like, oh my God, this is cool. I can go show it to my customer. And the third time we show it to them, they don't even look up from their phone while they're sending a text message. You know, they just totally ignore it. So, you know, I want everybody to focus on the things that their customer perks up for. The first time you slide this budget across the table, your customer is going to sit back in their chair and give you a, wow, I didn't know you could do that look. And I want you to capture that look and think about the things that when you can slide them across the table, you give the customer that response, not the, well, this computer has a 1.8 gigahertz 2-core CPU and probably should be replaced, because of that. They don't care about that.
That makes a lot of sense. Like you said, this is for a business conversation, right? This is not so much a technology stats conversation.
And that's the reason all the reports are red, yellow, green, because everyone understands red, yellow, green, right? The finance guy gets it. The executives get it. Even the salespeople get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have here one of the questions to ask. I'm not going to use competitors' names. You're not unique in this space. Well, you are unique in the space and the value you provide, but there are others that are trying to accomplish the same thing. I'm not going to use names of those competitors. How do you stand out, I think, is the gist of the question.
Yeah, and we don't have any qualms against any of these competitors. There's a lot of them out there. Some of them have built really beautiful products. Most of them fall short somewhere. There's one that is about 10 times our price or more that focuses strictly on alignment. Alignment is a beautiful and wonderful thing. We'll use lifecycle replacement and data to allow you to drive towards alignment instead of just going and checking a bunch of boxes. But the big thing that separates us from our competition is the fact that we built this on data quality and not making you reinvent the wheel every time you do one of these. Most of these other platforms are click-through platforms with very little integration. So every time you go do a QBR, you have to go click through all the boxes and do all the work again. We're building on data that you already have, and we're giving you the tools to use that data to get the results that you want.
That's fantastic. So there's a lot of unanswered questions here. I see we're at 2:59. I want to make sure we get to pricing and they've come up with a special promotion. Alex and Marnie have come up with a special promotion for today for the viewers. Alex, Marnie, do you mind if we go 2 or 3 minutes over?
We're good.
Okay,
And I would
so
like to add that this is recorded. So Michael,
yes,
is recorded. So I think that's a quick one.
this is absolutely recorded. We will
get it all.
Yeah, we will post to YouTube as well. And Alex, Marnie, and I will share this as well. Any questions that we can't get to, we're going to give you our contact information, and we have yours. We will, I'm sure they will reach out to you to answer any questions that are left unanswered, because we want to make sure everybody's attended to.
You want me to put the coupon code in the chat?
Yeah, go ahead.
Out as well. So,
yep.
So the coupon code is OITVOIP. And it is 10% off for the subscription for the year 2020 if you subscribe by New Year's Eve, by midnight on December 31st. So right before you head out to the party, you can type.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
go ahead.
If you're interested, I would encourage you to go check out the pricing page, lifecycleinsights.io/pricing. Or just go to Lifecycle Insights, click the pricing tab. We put it all out there in the public purview. We're not overpricing you. We're not shy about it. Plans start at $49 a month, and there is a free 90-day trial with 5 clients. So you can bring 5 clients.
Generous.
You can bring 5 clients in the system. We realized early on that folks were going to bring their clients in and figure out that their data needed work. It's not fair to somebody to say, hey, I gave you a 26-hour trial, and you have to fix all your data in 26 hours and print reports and go do a QBR and come back and see what the result looked like. We want you to have it long enough that you can bring your 5 biggest clients, your 5 best clients, your 5 clients who are closest to needing a QBR, whatever. Bring them in, get them in the platform, get on with us for a training session, and make sure that you're getting the reports out of it that you need, and just put it to use, prove that it works. But if you get in there and you like it and you realize that you're going to want to keep it, convert yourself to a paid plan before the end of the year and get yourself that 10% off, because that'll be more of a savings than a $50 plan free for
Absolutely. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. It's, I'm guilty of it myself. We'll sign up for a trial and then kind of forget about it a little bit. And honestly, this is not one of those things either that, you set it up and you're good to go. It takes some data manipulation. It takes some time, some curating to be able to go and make this usable. And then
it does, but one of the things that we wrote around was the ability to get folks onboarded fast. The initial integration will take you 15 minutes. Go to bed, take a good nap, let it cook. overnight. It'll download and sync up a bunch of your data. It'll go out and do your warranty lookups and really give you a presentation the next day of what it really looks like. But we got some feedback from a pretty good sized MSP who said, hey, I've already bought 3 products that I don't have completely implemented. I just can't buy another if it's going to take me days or weeks or months to implement it. So we took that to heart. We built something that implements quickly and easily, and that doesn't require a ton of high-end resources to really put into play. This really can become a tool that's between your service manager, kind of guiding your tier 1 and intern folks, can become a complete tool rather quickly without a ton of expense.
And just to impress that, one of my brethren here on Discord mentioned to me, you can get pretty good information very, very, very quickly, usable information that you can actually present. So that's good. I mean, hearing from live customers is always a nice thing, right?
We like to hear that.
Yeah. One of the questions we had from Michael, I know you said you're not going to be integrating with Cisco, but he says he does a lot with Cisco. They have SmartNet contracts right now that covers a couple devices. How would you handle that? Would you manually enter the information?
Yeah, absolutely. You enter that information into ConnectWise, and it'll still port over into our system and give you everything that you need. Cisco is on our maybe list. They do actually have an API, and they approached us at IT Nation and had a pretty good conversation. But the world is reality, right? And IT Glue and some other things are a little higher up the food chain. So Cisco will show up one day. It is not one that is totally off the list. There are some oddballs out there that we'll just never be able to get to. But,
Absolutely. So, your pricing model is actually very intelligent, very easy to understand. It's digestible. It's based on bucket of number of customers, right? Like you said, you have a public pricing page where you have all your prices. I'll go ahead and put that up live. Like Marnie said, she put the coupon code in there. This will be recorded. The coupon code is OITVOIP. I hope that you guys know the name OITVOIP. That'll get you 10% off for 2020 if you sign up before the end of the year. And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, something as simple as, $49 a month. That's a no-brainer to me. Lord knows I pay a ton of money for Breakage, and it's worth every penny of it. But when something provides a lot of value like this, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'll go ahead and reshare the information, the contact information for Alex and Marnie and their team over at Lifecycle. Their YouTube channel is there. This will be posted. And if you have any questions, please email them, email me, ping us on Twitter, on Facebook, Discord. We're always there. Alex, Marnie, thank you so much for your time today. This was incredibly enlightening. You guys bring a lot of value to the table, letting us be more successful as MSPs. That's exactly what we're looking for. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.